I really thank Edgardo Iozza for his kind invitation of today, and I will try to offer an overview about what is happening at the economy worldwide, as also Edgardo was saying at the beginning. In this way, I hope that I will put on the table the ingredients for the debates that will follow. Let me start with the concerns expressed by the European Central Bank President about the global economy figures last week. And please forgive me if, before entering this topic, I would like to highlight that while we were discussing, actually Europe was dictating the agenda at a worldwide level and was asking all the most important currency areas to discuss about problems that was just regarding 0.1% of the gross domestic product on a global basis, and speaking about the Greek debt and the problem of the Greek debt restructuring and crisis, we were a little bit headless about what was happening to the 2/3 or 3/4 of the gross domestic product on a worldwide basis. Because a lot of things were happening, a lot of volatility was coming into the market, and incredible turmoil was there. You know, China decided to start a currency war with respect to the United States of America, and emerging markets were really slowing down or even enter in an important recession. I'm speaking about Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you know, these two main aspects are really critical for the Eurozone and for the European Union, because, as you may definitely know, our gross domestic product growth is fundamentally driven by exogenous factors. The exchange rate of the euro that is going down, the oil price, and so in a certain sense the role of these emerging markets, United States of America, is quite relevant for the actually not significant but still present growing in average of the gross domestic product of the European Union. We should have also realized that we are not facing our problems, and we are not creating the pillars in order to exit from the crisis and give, in my opinion, an improvement to our union, and to move this union to maybe a better integration. Why am I saying this? Because it is clear that, for example, the inflation attitude that we have observed in the last 6 months is more related to the oil price than to the quantitative easing that has been decided. And actually the answer offered by the European institution, but it's not a fault of the institution, it's a problem of the architecture that puts our currency area in difficulty in order to compete with other currency areas such as dollar or in this moment the renminbi also. Our answer has been a little bit late, because our quantitative easing, that is the only tool that concretely we have implemented actually, has arrived after important similar decisions took from United States and Japan, and actually it has shown to be not very effective, not really effective, because there are some architectural limits. Think just about the risk sharing, and the fact that the quantitative easing works by following the idea of the capital key. by moving in this way, forget that you will be able to move all the Eurozone member countries to this level of 2%. In fact, we assist to an incredible heterogeneity in inflation within the Eurozone. The target of the European Central Bank of 2% in average, yes, maybe that in average at the end of the quantitative easing, I'm not sure about that. We will reach it, but definitely if we look at each member countries, we realize that we are definitely far. There are plenty of countries that are in deflation. Think about Greece, minus 3%. There are some countries that arrive at 1%, and important countries such as Italy, for example, that is definitely at 0. And this kind of, also the decision of last week is a pure technical decision that the people that works in the market, in the banking system, knows that mainly this decision is driven by the fact that the European Central Bank has to buy a large quota of bond, and since a lot of bonds display negative yield at the moment, if they want to, be comfortable in continuing to buy this share of the German Treasury, they have to increase the quota of those bonds that still display a yield that is compatible with the rule of the quantitative easing, that you cannot buy Treasury that display a yield that is below minus 0.2%, that is the deposit rate. So it's a technical aspect just to create some room in order to continue the quantitative easing to work, but to work with the limit that I have just mentioned before. At the end of May, another answer offered by the institution has been a document written by France and Germany, that actually is definitely, it states something that is really shareable, agreeable. In a certain sense, there are a lot of principles that are definitely clear, and I can agree with those principles. But when this document enters in the tools that should be implemented in order to improve the integration, the development of our union, anytime we speak about tools that should move in the direction of the risk sharing, the solution is that these tools should be paid by the budget of each member country. And specifically, I'm speaking about the banking union, the minimum salary, and investments. So if we want to integrate, and if we want to move to a European Union that is closer to a United States of Europe, it is clear that banking union, minimum salary, and investments is something that should be managed at a European level, and not by asking the single budget, the budget of each member countries to undertake these aspects. But let me just now, so in my opinion, it is clear that so far we have seen that the answer has been, this is what I'm saying, has been they arrive late, they are still focused on small issues, or better, in terms of principles, the principles are well declared, but when the tools, when we move into practice, I see that there are some, issues. But let me focus instead on what I think are the two main problems at the moment, by starting from the problem of finance, as Edgardo was saying, what finance can do. And let me focus on what are the most important, in my personal opinion, financial issues within the Eurozone. Spread and inflation differentials. Spread, everybody knows what is, because we read about that every day. It seems now something that is part of our union. I have read with a lot, not a lot, a bit of surprise, a proposal of the president of the Bundesbank of 1 month ago, where he just stated that the spread is something physiological. I cannot agree. the spread is pathological. Because when you have one currency area, you have one term structure, interest rate. One thing is, let's just share the example of the United States of America. Yes, okay, Texas, Arizona, California, they can have a different spread. But the US treasuries all over the country displays one term structure. It's not the case that the treasury placed in New York State or in Arizona or in Texas display different spread. And in any case, we have seen in the United States that when a country has some problems, namely the California, the federal budgets arrive and fix the problem. It's not like Puerto Rico. That is not part, in fact, of the United States of America. And again, I cannot agree with what I have heard in the comparison between Puerto Rico and Greece offered by the Minister Charles. Why these two financial dimensions, these two financial aspects are critical? Spread and inflation differential within the member countries of the Eurozone. Because they create problems in the private side and in the public side of our economy. In the private side, they create a competitive gap and undue wealth transfers within the Eurozone, because they alter the financial cost of the manufacturing. Let me share with you an example. This plastic bottle is definitely a product that has no technological or commercial advantage in production. It can be produced by a company in Germany, in Greece, in France, in Italy. And why a citizen from the United States of America should buy this bottle from France, Italy, or Germany, or Spain, or Greece? They will decide according to who sells at the lowest price. I think that you will agree with me. Well, in year 2000, when the European Union, the Eurozone started, let's say that this bottle, or better, 1,000 of these bottles were costing something like $100. Now, just because of the spread and the inflation differential, this same product would cost, if produced in Germany, $116. If produced in Italy, $136. Just because every factory works within the financial system. And so, if the financial cost of manufacturing is altered by the spread and by the inflation, it is clear that you cannot compete. And okay, the government cannot reduce the salary, can allow with some, policy to push some plans in some part of the countries in order to give some advantage, these kind of things. But there is no way to compete in this situation. And it's not the case that, in fact, we have assisted for more than a decade that one country is in an incredible trade surplus that actually, according to the rules of the European Union, should be enforced at a certain point in time. But this is not part of the discussion that we can do here. We can discuss about the 0.1% of the global world, of the world domestic product. We can discuss about that for months. We cannot discuss about the fact that one country displays all these trade surplus and all the other countries are in trade deficits. And we cannot think that this is physiological, because neither the Japan after the Second World War has displayed a trade surplus so big for all this long period. So we should think that some financial distortions are determined undue wealth transfer between the Eurozone. And remember, when you create a business cycle divergences within the same currency area, sooner or later the currency area will disintegrate. You have heard about the gold standard and Bretton Woods. Because anytime you have a fixed exchange rate regime between countries that share the same currency, and you don't implement a solution in order to eliminate these issues, sooner or later the end will arrive. I understand that so far I have been not too much proponent, and maybe a little bit critical. So let me try to give, or at least to put on the table a proposal that we can try to implement in order to fix these issues. It is clear that the only tool that we can use is the European Central Bank, because the European Central Bank is the only, let's say, institution that is perfectly working, 100% operating. Within the market, with rules, as is proper regulation, can take the decision with this board, etc. First point, why we don't change the target from 2% inflation in average to 2% inflation on a punctual basis for each member country? And second, why don't we put a target that is zero spread? You can think that I'm provoking and that this is realistic, but let me tell you why it could be done. There is already the outright monetary transactions, already decided, and the quantitative easing also. I'm saying to redefine these two tools in order to have a clear target declared to the market. The European Central Bank will defend the uniqueness of the term structure within the Eurozone. There is no longer spread between govies, because this thing would alter also the public side of finance within the member countries. It's obvious. And remember, if the private banks will realize that the European Central Bank is working hard for this, they will not start a battle with the European Central Bank, because there is no sense for this. They will start to trade the govies in order to improve this convergence. We have already seen this at the starting of the Eurozone. Remember the convergence trades. It was the private banking system that helped the institution by making some strategies and get the uniqueness of the term structure. And the second tool that can be implemented is the TLTRO. You remember that last year we had this long-term refinancing operation targeted in order to arrive to the real economy. Somebody could say they didn't work. They did not work because there were no enforcement. And so the TLTRO were used to buy govies and to put this money at the European Central Bank at the deposit. I hope that the Eurozone will overcome the strategy followed so far of gaining time. You know, in the past, the Romans, with this strategy, beat Hannibal. And Quinto Fabio Massimo became famous for this. But unfortunately, one thing is moving from one plateau to the other camps to disorientate Hannibal. One thing is to face the financial turmoil worldwide, where if you are the fast mover, you can always have an advantage and reach your target.